I'm Anna.
And I'm Ben.
We are AutoSave. Welcome to our
Today
channel.
we are watching Steins Gate, Season 1, Episode 12. Last episode we were sent a picture of a doll's head that was bloodied. Or at least it looked like it.
I hated it.
I don't know. Maybe it's supposed to be Kurisu. I don't know, though.
We have a bunch of theories, because, you know, we're wild people over here, but...
Probably none of them are right.
Probably none of them are right, but it is fun.
I'm scared to go forward. It's kind of like an uneasy feeling the show is giving me the last episode or two, but that makes me also more excited for what is potentially about to come.
Yeah, every time I say to myself, oh, there's no way that these threats, these ominous text messages would ever actually amount to anything of actual murderous intent. And then I remember the first episode of this show, and then I'm like, shoot.
Yeah. It feels far away, you know,
It
since
does.
that happened.
It feels like it's a different world line. It wouldn't happen in this one.
Yeah. Also, I've been playing a lot of Valorant because I hate my life. And I was watching a Valorant streamer called Tens, and he got a sub, and it made a sound, and that sound was familiar. And I was like, what is this from? And it every time he gets a sub, it goes like, Tootaroo. Like,
which is
from
awesome.
Yeah.
Adorable.
And
I
was
love
like,
it.
oh, I get that reference. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, I now understand it.
Yeah. So I felt like I needed to say that. Liking the show, though. You ready to go?
Yeah.
Sweet. Are we watching the right show? What are they in? The Sands of Time?
I feel like I need to replay that so many times.
We're on the right episode, right?
Totally. Interesting of when they edited the time in. Yes. He wants it. Daru wants it.
Great job.
Fancy.
Memories into the past. Okay. That's a lot.
If you could transfer the memories, you'd always be the original.
Does it compress it? Yeah.
I appreciate the pictures. We need to bring back flip phones. AU.
48 hours at a time. The two brain. Okay. What a shot.
Why would you? That was such an Okabe decision. What does Okabe think, not Hoin?
I am so uneasy right now.
やめるべきだと思っていたのかもしれない。
実験に夢中だった私やおかに教えてね。ママに連絡しておきたいから。パパにも知られることになるし、ディープマシン作ったって。青森行きもちょっと無理かな。
ごめんが抱えている問題は必ず俺が解決して。
してこき使いたいからなんでしょ。
切な仲間だからだ。
Companion.
は？は？
何してる？
熱があるせいで助手らしくもないことを。
これは形式的な例というか、なんというか。
ツンデレなのだ。
ツンデレじゃない。あんたこそ何？支離滅裂なんだよ。
バカなことを言うな。俺は味方であり、世界は敵である。それだ。
Nice cover.
言葉なら出ているではないか。
I'm in such a weird place right now.
It's in my body. Some people would disagree.
今作っちゃうから。
なぜ止めなかったし、止めたさ。ラボメはオカリンが守るって言ったろ。本来なら。
オーディションするとは、らっきょで代用するか。用意するけど。あ、もうピザ届く。マユシーも唐揚げ。なんでマキセクリスがいるわけ？ここのラボ面だ。すずさんと何かあったの？別に。私がセルンのスパイだとか。言いがかりじゃない。事実だよ。証拠はあるの？証拠はない。でもそうなる。
It will happen. It's a prophecy.
私は君のことを君以上に知ってる人間で、これからどういうことをやっていくかも。ごめん。マユシーはね、喧嘩は嫌いなのです。だって別に好きなわけじゃ。みんなでいるときは楽した方が楽しいと思うよ。
Gosh.
To be mad at someone for something they haven't done yet.
When in doubt,
So you know
attack.
that makes a lot of sense.
そっちの隅っこに並んでるやつ、リンクカードだから。ペの性格から考えたら絶対。本当だ。
助手よ。貴様助手のくせに。
あんたのその偉そうな口が気に入らない。
Mending bridges. Never mind.
ブライト選手。能力で勝ったのではない。2回戦に向けて作戦を練ってくる。せいぜい今のうちに。
ちょっと見てきたら。こっちは私がやっとく。
It's not moving. Lightsabers.
見当たらなかったから。
そのサイリウム。
ラボ面たくさんになったでしょ。いろいろ足りないなって。
いろいろって。
椅子でしょ。それから食器も足りないし。
公表すれば何らかの形で謝礼はそれで全て解決だ。
本当？買える？
ああ、買える。
じゃあ電子レンジも。唐揚げ温められなくてなんだか不思議だね。オカリンとっても寂しそうだったのに。いつも静かで。オカリンのパソコンの音しかくんでしょ。クリスちゃんでしょ。ルカちゃんでしょ。モエカさん。エリスちゃん。
マユリ。
大丈夫だね。マユシーが人質じゃなくても。
オカリン、マユシー。電車止まってる。お願いします。
Bomb threat.
Are we gonna have to use it? We're gonna have to do the experiment. What if there's a real bomb?
そうだけど、
テルンのハッキングは続けてるの？
続けてるっつうか、もっと奥まで入り込む。
どういうこと？
This is a threat.
回線で繋がったんだよ。
今すぐ。私帰る。すずさん？
Whoa. Through the hourglass.
It's not moving.
マユシーの懐中止まっちゃってる。ネジ巻いたばっかりなのに。何これ。
点を見合わせ。動くな。全員両手を上げ。 飛竜萌えか
マシンはセルンが回収する。セルン？マキセ・クリス、岡部倫太郎、3名は一緒に来てもらう。
マユリは
椎名真由必要ない。
やめてくれ。マユリマユリなんだよこれ。
That was episode 12 of Steins Gate.
Holy shit. Shit.
My immediate thought is like, time travel.
Yay.
Is there any way that like
Fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't make it hurt any less. Or feel any less fucked up. To know that that's capable. To me, in my emotions at the moment. Because I still had to see it.
When did Moeka make
The FB comment?
when did she send the text?
Which text? The one back in time?
Mm-hmm.
About getting a new cell phone?
Mm-hmm.
Well, didn't we read that text message? So was that maybe her signaling, like, hey, if I send a text message about getting a new phone, that means that they've been able to make this work?
Like a confirmation kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
thing?
like a confirmation text, like a keyword.
Fuck, man. I really don't want Maori to be out of the show. Like, I'm like, time travel. It's gonna be okay.
Time travel.
Next episode, we're gonna wake up in a different world line, or give me a few episodes, and then somehow Kiyoma will be able to put himself into, a different world line, or 48 hours in the past, and try to stop what's gonna happen, right? But I don't know. This is really hard to talk.
At the moment, I find it very hard to think and to talk and to think about what's going to happen in the show from this point in time and moment. And I feel internally devastated. I feel so, empty at the moment from, thought. Critical thinking skills out the window.
You ever, I don't know, I had a weird feeling all episode, and not any part of me would ever have thought that anything like this was to occur. But it's one of those instances that, sometimes before, something bad happens in life even, or in a show or whatever, there's just times you get, an uneasy feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And, in real life, a lot of them end up not amounting to anything. But when it's fiction, and and it's written by somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and to try to make you think and feel a certain way.
They subtly build little cues in, either it's the score or it's the way they start to edit it, that it starts to kind of build that feeling for you internally without, subtly, with nuance, without being so in your face, something bad's gonna happen, the shark sound, dun 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 dun, you know?
Yeah, and nothing close to what happened has happened in the show. So in my wildest dreams, or worst dreams, right? At most, I was okay, a big development's gonna happen, and then we're gonna go to a different world line and have to forget about that, right?
Mm.
A Kurisu relationship moment, and that's gonna be forgotten and changed forever, or like same thing with Maori.
So you never thought we'd revisit murder from the first episode? And that was just there to remind us that there are high stakes here, and that to be paranoid, to create paranoia in us about what's going to happen in the show.
I think in a broad sense, sure. But like when I'm sat down watching this 12 episodes in, and we've had a steady sense of tone and pace, that when things started to feel a little like uneasy, I wasn't expecting it to go so far past 10.
I think the big bad in this case, CERN, was definitely, even though there were text messages, there still felt like there was a great deal of distance between an organization, a group of people barging in through the doors. You know, there still felt like there was a great deal of distance, even though text messages and threats were being sent. And I think that was obviously helped by Okabe keeping those threats secret and not talking to them to anyone else. That also helps the viewer feel like there is distance still between that actually being anything except paranoia building material, and not that it would actually ever come to anything, especially when it's like the texts, just like threatening messages, not very personal. The pictures are like, oh, this is a scary decapitated doll's head. Oh, a red jelly thing, and it's like, okay, yeah, sure, that's scary, but it could be a practical joke. It could be someone that cares about him trying to scare him away from doing this sort of thing. When I'm saying that sort of thing, I'm thinking maybe Moeka was trying to get them to actually back off so she didn't have to kill them, because she is muttering 4FB as she's killing Mayuri, almost like she's having to force herself to do it, in my hope that is how it happened. I hope that was what she was doing, because I liked Moeka.
I definitely think it gave me the impression that she had to remind herself why she was doing this and why it had to be done. Mm-hmm. That's the impression that it gave me. I don't know what that entails and why. I don't know what FB is. I can only think of, like, we have Ferris's name, and then we have Barrel Titer. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if those things are, they don't seemingly have connections. I don't know.
So I think a really interesting kind of question to start talking about and bringing up is Moeka's character, personality, the acting that we saw. And I'm putting acting out there as a word because it possibly could have been a complete made-up character by this person in order to seem like not a threat and to join the lab and to just seem like a quirky person that is into time machines and to get away with this sort of thing and get close to it. Or it could be that there is a real reason that Moeka needed to be a part of CERN, needed to get her hands on a time machine, and was for FB. FB could stand for a loved one that Moeka wants to bring back. Someone that has passed away, and someone that Moeka is like, I need to get access, and CERN needs to get access to a time machine so I can use it for FB. It's possible. So I think that's an interesting question to put out there, that Moeka's character, from what we've seen, 12 episodes in, was that all just a fake ruse act in order to seem non-threatening, or was that actual personality of this person?
Maybe a little bit of both. So why was time stopped in the room? Was it like some sort of like EMP that was like sent out to make it so nothing involving time could be manipulated or done, while CERN was trying to put their operation into effect?
I mean, if CERN is an organization, a group that is working on inventing time machine, I wouldn't be surprised if they've invented other things that can be utilized to do other things, like I stop time, for whatever that would actually mean in the scientific terms for this show. Obviously, it was something that Suzuha noticed before anyone else, and then Okabe noticed. That there was almost like a feeling in the air at that moment. Nothing was happening other than, oh, a bomb threat on the TV. You know, like, oh, that's scary. Oh, how are we going to get home? But there was something that happened in the air that Suzuha looked over and sensed around where the hourglass was.
Yeah. There wasn't like time on the TV. It was just the idea of a bomb threat.
They're like,
Yeah.
oh, what a pain. Oh, I need to call home. Like, they'd think, oh, it's just a threat. It's not like there actually was a bomb that went off. How am I going to get home? Oh, I wonder if my parents are okay. But there's just something about the air in that room. There's something that has happened that would possibly lead to the possibility that CERN was able to use some form of technology on this room.
So, like, my impression is that CERN, through hacking, had like backtracing, so they were able to monitor what our lab members were doing. And upon learning, like, we have to think about why this happened now, right? Upon learning that this is going to be announced to the world very soon was the reason that they had to take action immediately.
That's quite possible. They probably had multiple forms of evidence of what was taking place by not only like letting them in to CERN's computer system to be able to like backtrack, but also Moeka keeps a phone diary.
Yeah.
In order to realize when they've used it.
It's interesting timing, right?
It is what happened in this episode that CERN would have been able to know that they were going to. It's not like they wrote in their computer, "Oh, we're gonna turn it over."
They might be able to, like, they might have bugged it. I don't know.
Might have bugged it.
I think it's interesting timing, though, not necessarily for CERN's motive, because I think that their motive of going now was probably the announcement incoming. But I
just thought of an easy reason how they would have known. They probably invited Moeka to the dinner tonight.
Oh, yeah.
And told her, like, oh, we're doing this to celebrate the fact that we're not going to use it and that we're going to turn it over.
But I think it also brings up a potential interesting plot point of, we were introduced and put into motion of the idea of sending back 48 hours memories, right? Memories into the past, 3.24 terabytes of it. I wonder if this is going to lead to an alternate world line where we have to, rather than announce what we've learned and what we plan on doing, go forward with it against Mayori's concern and have to use one of them as...
Right, you're so right. Like, CERN might even be wanting to wait until they've completely unlocked, like, actual time travel and not just... Now it's the next step of memories instead of D-mail. But CERN might just kind of be, like, biding their time. But then, obviously, what happens in this episode, we decide that we're going to tell the public about it. That could totally be the reason for CERN acting in this instance. They could have just been waiting this whole time for Okabe to just continue on with the research and do all the work for them. Yeah.
It's also interesting that Suzuha left. I wonder what the connection between Suzuha and CERN is, or Suzuha and Moeka is, truthfully.
That I like a possible Suzuha Moeka connection.
Yeah.
Like that Suzuha would recognize Moeka or Moeka would recognize. Have they ever been in the room together? From what we've seen? Or like both of them what?
Both of their outfits look very action spy-like, I was going to say. Like,
I don't think we've ever seen a scene with them interacting or at the lab at the same time or outside the lab at the same time. I mean, I could totally be wrong, but like, I'm kind of suspicious in the way that I want to go back and like double check like tons of stuff. Like, when was the first exact moment we met Moeka and what had just happened, and like all these different things that I want to go back and check.
What do you... One of the most intriguing things to me is like the specificity of what Suzuha is to this story.
Yeah.
Because I don't care what, like, I'm not expecting like somebody who is like the ultimate time traveler or whatever. Like I think that the specifics of what her role is and what she knows is extremely fascinating. And I would love to know, like, I cannot wait to hear.
She told Kurisu that she knew more about Kurisu than Kurisu knew about herself.
And, like, she was, upon everything going down, she was saying, like, you need to, ... like, what? Destroy the computer, stop this, do a different thing, you, like, what is that? How do you have the information? And why did you feel like you were helpless in this situation, or that you couldn't
stop
help?
talking? Like, she was about to say it, and then she didn't. Like, why not say something? Is it because she knew that saying something they wouldn't be able to accomplish anything? And so, would you want someone to send someone to their death, knowing that they were about to die?
Okay, so I'm thinking about, like, the butterfly effect, everything like that. And we haven't seen it used in this potential instance, but why would Suzuha not be able to or want to say something that could change the way the future plays out here? Like, what rules does she have to abide by, and why potentially would our main cast need to figure out what to do by themselves without any influence of or any guidance?
I like the possibility that it's because she follows certain rules. But I also want to bring back the idea that it seems like there's a possibility something could be up with the room or the atmosphere itself, that she could know that no matter what she said, it's not like they could do anything in this moment. So it's possibility that it's the rules of what she is allowed to influence and what she's allowed to do and what she can't influence and what she can't do. Maybe she runs out of fear because she's like, if I die here, then I can't do anything later. It's like it could be a self-preservation, or in order to save everyone, she would need to get away here.
Yeah.
Because she's the only one that has all this other knowledge. But no wonder Kurisu joins CERN. I'm going to say joins CERN, but they're being taken captive to basically probably be used in order to discover time travel even further. I would say they probably are going to be put to work, and Kurisu might be the one that is the one that actually figures it out and actually does it for CERN.
It's interesting though, because like, she knew before coming here what this party was to celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of a bomb threat leading her down the line of questioning
she was
that
instantly
she did.
Suspicious, yeah, when she saw it, right?
Like, she like the fact alone, like there's no, in my mind, like prophecy saying the night of the celebration is the night that CERN attacks, and that information is what Suzuha's going off of, because she would have been suspicious all along, right?
She's
like,
always suspicious of everything. She's very on edge.
It's super interesting. Like, what are the chances that she didn't know, right? That she knew very broad, obscure facts, but nothing specific of like who Moeka is and when CERN would attack.
When it would happen. When this would happen.
But just knew the stalling of all transit would be the first step.
She might have known, on that same night, there was a bomb threat. And so as soon as she...
Or a bomb threat is the prelude to.
Yeah, there could be something like that. That she knew that something big happening in nearby to them that would shut down transportation
Any
or
shot
travel.
this Moeka is a different Moeka, right? Like, what if, like, them being here right now is a form of time travel? Like, I'm thinking, like, okay, if you're trying to time travel to a specific place, you are going to need something to mark that specific place or that specific time, right? An event. If you're trying to like time travel back, an event that's easier to track would be something big, like a bomb threat. You'd be able to look that up in
so
media.
it's totally
newspapers.
separate, but they used it possibly to mark time.
Yeah.
To mark something significant that it'd be talked about on the TV or on the news. That's pretty smart. I like that they all have masks on, all the CERN people with guns.
Which is interesting, right?
And it's like, is that to avoid the butterfly effect of, oh, I don't want my son in the past to see my face and realize we have the same eyes or something.
It's man, the Moeka entrance,
This
like
slow movement of Moeka walking into the room.
I don't know, man.
Moeka looks great with the hair tied back.
Yeah. CERN will take the time machine. What do you mean? God, I fucking... You three are coming with me. I'm seeing if we see the other shooters again. Because I don't think we do.
It's like once Moeka enters the room, then anyone else is no longer important. To the characters and to the viewers, because Moeka is significant to us. That Moeka is acting in this way is significant to us. That it almost doesn't even matter that there are strangers in the room with guns.
Yeah.
It's that there is a person you trusted that's been in here before, that you've had a meal with, that you thought of as a friend.
The way that... Okay, first of all the shots are amazing this episode, where like...
There's some weird tilts to some of them.
Yeah. The storyboarding's fantastic. If you see, like, the expression that Suzuha has, like, when she's like, everyone, you need to... I'm sorry, like, I have to leave, you know? It's like she's, like, realizing what exactly is about to happen. Not like, oh, there's going to be a broad attack. Like,
there's like a helplessness almost in her expression.
Yeah. Man. This is wild.
This is wild.
I would like to... I have a couple things in my notes that I want to talk about.
Tell me about them.
Before that, even, I just want to revisit the beginning of the episode.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, that obviously was massive to us, especially now more than ever because of, you know, Maori. This is Earth 70 million years ago. We see the same hourglass with time not moving, just like we do at the end of the episode. You were sent here by a time machine, maybe by CERN, right? In many, many world lines chasing him. Maori's been looking for him. You could say that the Ocarine here is one of many Ocarines. And you could say that he's the original Ocarine. Is it... Why is she the way that she is, right? Like, what... Is this... Is Kiyoma here... because CERN sends him here as like a test? Oh, let's see what the Earth looked like 70 million years ago. We'll send you back. There's no visible threat. The world's going to be blank. Testing it out. Why would Maori be able... Like, what stream of consciousness would Maori be able to talk to him in? Is it him trying to communicate with past memories, or Maori trying to wear the headset and communicate with... I don't know, dude.
This could be what... Did we ever have a rule that when we use this memory transfer, it had to be, or we were just going to attempt to do from your brain to your brain in the past, you know?
Yeah.
What if it was transferring thought, like yourself into someone else's dreams?
Yeah. It's okay. They're in the hourglass themselves, right? Mm-hmm. And they're, like, on top of time.
Yeah.
Man,
wild and crazy.
I just, like, I'm kind of, like... It's really hard to think, because I'm emotionally devastated.
I wrote down she's been chasing him, and one of many, or the original from that scene. That's what I had written down. I really like that whole idea of, like, some would say it's one of many. Others would say it's the original. And I like that kind of question, that thought, that discussion point, that thing that makes me want to, like, really dissect it and write a paper about it.
Yeah. going into like what we have made that we're never able to show like or attempt to use, sending the memories into the past 48 hours, because if any more, the difference between the two brain states is too large. That's so interesting to me because like, what if, okay, that's a 48-hour cap, right? What does the brain state change more in that small period of time depending on the events that happen? Like if something as huge as Mayori's death happened, would that like lessen the allowance of 48 hours to something like 24?
It's a lot
I
of
don't know.
information. It's like you have a lot of extra pictures to like put onto a computer or something from a camera. And it's like, oh, well, if I just took pictures for one day, that's obviously a lot less pictures than if I'm downloading a whole week's worth of pictures onto the computer. It's obviously going to take longer and need more storage space. So it could be that sort of literal idea.
Yeah.
Which is how my brain thinks about it, because I do not have more complex scientific knowledge in my brain.
True. And then in regards to Suzuha's conversation with Kurisu, like the language is so important, right? Like, oh yeah, calling Kurisu a CERN spy, but it will happen, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not when Suzuha saw shit going down at the end of the episode, she didn't look at Kurisu, you know?
No.
It's not happening yet. Mm-hmm. Is Kurisu going to become a CERN spy because she'll agree to go along and test the time machine rather than just like refuse of it? Like what?
And the issue is what is being manipulated in order to get Kurisu to actually work on it more. It's probably would be using a hostage situation. Either you're being forced to do it, people are being threatened, and so you do it. I don't think that Kurisu would just choose to do it of her own experimental nature unless there was more at stake for her to continue doing this. Because she seems in this episode to be... She's very aware that she specifically brings up the fact that Mayuri might be the person that has noticed more than anyone what this has done to Kurisu and to Okabe, that they both have had tunnel vision and been so focused on this, that she is aware of the unhealthy nature of what they are doing. She is aware of the risks. She's not even comfortable using it for herself. I think at this point, it seems to me that she wouldn't just choose to keep experimenting with it if she knew, if no one else around her, none of her other friends were pushing her in this scientific discovery. If Okabe's done, then she's like, yeah, I guess I'll be done too. And like, think about the people that are like noticing, you know, this tunnel vision we've been in, how unhealthy we've been lately. They probably are scared to see us like this. Yeah. You know, there's consideration there. Kurisu thinks of Mayuri as a close friend. Mm-hmm. Obviously thinks of Okabe as a good friend too and wouldn't want anything to happen to him. They're companions now in this episode. So I find that in my headcanon, in my belief, that she wouldn't do it unless she was being threatened by CERN. Or
she, like, had another idea in mind. That
double agent.
Double agent. And prophecy is a very interesting thing,
That's
right?
an interesting phrasing, yeah.
Because I want to touch on that in a second, but more specifically, if something is as vague as a prophecy, then you don't know the details. And one of the things that you might know is that Kurisu is a CERN spy, right? That's what you're told from a vague prophecy. But you don't necessarily know what her actions as a spy would be. It could be something like a double agent.
I mean, all Suzuha could have known are like 3 words. Kurisu, CERN, bomb.
Yeah.
Just like been told 3 text message words and then just was assuming things or going kind of on a spiral from those things. In this kind of paranoia, wariness that Suzuha has to have as a soldier, as a warrior, you know, this has to be on edge a bit. And now we kind of know more of why, because what was at stake and what the threat was, that she kind of had to connect some dots even if it wasn't necessarily given to her, the whole story.
Yeah, but you know what the term prophecy reminds me of? The term Messiah.
And we got this Messiah
and both
text
are technically titors, right?
And her dad, yeah.
Or barrel titor, but and that was a we think a different person than John. Who knows?
I mean, that'd be like, come on, why do they have the same?
But because it could be in the future is what I'm thinking.
Like the son of John Titor?
Yeah, who then... I don't,
or like the brother?
Bro, I don't know. But regardless, the terminology reminds me of Messiah and prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
I mean, those words are very... we've talked about it with the show before, and these words definitely fit in this kind of theme with this show, is that Kiyoma, Huin, has this a very grand language, this very vague and very big words, like, that doesn't need a lot of extra explanation because it has a big effect, like organization, and Messiah also and prophecy also carry a lot of like big weight to them, where someone doesn't have to like, oh, I can grab your attention, and like a scare tactic almost, like I can grab your attention and make it so you either feel like you can't think of any other questions, you're not going to question it, or you're just so shocked by this and the shock value of it and the weight of it that, no questions are going to be asked. I don't need to explain myself anymore. There's this big thing that's bigger than you. Yeah.
There's something like very unique in the world of time travel when one concept or ability that one organization or people have is physical time travel, but that more nuanced approach that is discovered by the long-term discovery of physical time travel, like the little things that we've done so far, right? And then, like the sending memories, 48 hours, world lines, all of these things, they are very, very specific to our characters. Like John Titor didn't hear of anybody being able to
send text messages
and carry over the memories between world lines. Like there's something very unique and specific about our group of people, right? And what their path to discovery is, and when it needs or would be intercepted.
I mean, this is a very powerful thing to have access to. If you're CERN, and we already know from their files that they have just been trying and trying these cases of sending people back, and they turn to Jellyman, this capability of so low risk in terms of like a casualty to just send a text message or send memories back. No, CERN would like, if CERN hasn't already done that or invented it, that they would want that. They've like already had casualties in their time machine research. Maybe they didn't even think on this scale. It is almost a smaller scale, but it's still like very effective to send memories and to send messages back in the past. It's very effective and a low casualty rate. So I'm not surprised that CERN would probably want that if they heard it existed. Like, oh, wait, that's even better than what we were doing, because it's like easy. Everyone has a cell phone. Everyone has memories.
I want to talk about a couple things. So I think it's really interesting that Mayuri was the person who was killed, right? The obvious jump to conclusions that I'm going to make is she's the one who doesn't have as much tech involvement or experience. But what this episode told us again and again and again is that Mayuri alone is the one who potentially has the clearest view of this entire thing. And I think that that's really important to hold on to, because there does lie a possibility that the reason that Mayuri was killed was something different. Without Mayuri in this situation, I don't think Kiyoma would have gone forward necessarily with telling the entire world at this point, or not testing this further. It's Mayuri's
involvement that's technically holding him back from some further scientific discovery.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think that that's really interesting.
And we get this line from her earlier on in the episode when she's listing all of the fun and the friends that they have now, where she says she guesses like she's no longer his hostage.
Yeah.
And
then it's really also interesting when we first see that time has stopped. Like, you called it out immediately, but in terms of like when this happened chronologically, it's the second that Mayuri leaves the room, right? Like, Kiyoma has left, and then per Kurisu's suggestion, Mayuri goes ahead and talks to him is immediately when we're shown that time stopped. That's really interesting as well,
Yeah.
right? Because that took place before any of the bomb threats. Right after they came back in, it happened, but I think that's really interesting. You know?
Isn't that the scene where they have a conversation about her not being the hostage anymore?
It is, yeah. And talking about how many lab members they have now.
And he's like, this will solve everything. We'll have more money. And I could buy you more than just chairs and utensils.
You looked really lonely in the spring. And then naming off all the lab members. She even names off Moeka.
I know. And this idea of you looked so lonely beforehand when it was just me and you kind of thing. And now you have all of these people.
Yeah.
It totally fits with like the next scene. She dies.
When does Kiyoma in the scene have the recollection of the beginning of the episode? After what name? Kurisu? Ruka? Suza? Moeka? Right after Moeka. Right after Moeka
It's almost
said,
like a sign, like as if Mayuri really was kind of or he's sending himself. Honestly, he could have made up that dream and sent it back to himself as like his own version of a text message code.
if there was like a second that you need to go back to try to diverge the point and go a different direction, it would be here. No,
and he could have used his love and care for Mayuri in order to send those feelings back to himself in the past in order to hopefully change the course of events. Like, remember how much Mayuri cares about you, and this how unsettling it would be for him and horrible it would be for him to realize, oh my gosh, look what time travel has done to me. Mayuri's been tracing me this whole time, and like, of course, then he would stop.
Yeah.
So it could have been something he sent to himself, hoping that would, like, okay, maybe if I stop here in this point in time, bad things won't happen.
Or if I remember this or think about this in that time, then maybe I'd tell Mayuri to go or leave, or
maybe I'll tell them about the text messages that I've been getting, the threats. I actually wrote that. I was like, would telling them about these threatening text messages influence anything actually? Out for debate on that I have no clue.
Yeah.
They already decided in this episode to not continue with the experiment, so I don't think it actually would change that.
Do you think that that isn't your hostage anymore is such interesting phrasing, and I know that it's part of the show and like the dialogue, but it's so interesting. And then Daru comes in. Do you think that the people sending the text messages are the same people as CERN and Moeka?
I have said before that I don't think it necessarily needs to be. I think that we have this idea already of this lab and this group of people sending things back in time. I think that it's possible that a friend would use threats in order to hopefully stop something from happening if they thought it would get the point across the best, and like actually a scare tactic to get something from not happening. I think empty threats. So I do believe it could be Moeka, it could be CERN, it could have actual malicious intent, like stop or we'll kill you, or it could be someone being like, I need to get them to stop so they don't die.
Yeah.
So I honestly, it could be either of those for me.
When did we have the scale close up of the timestamp?
It was on the roof. It was at the very beginning. It was after he got out of his daydream or his vision, and he was walking. Mayuri came up onto the roof, and he walks past her, and it's as he starts to get closer to her face that it happens. Yeah, like she's like, come see my cosplay.
08-13-2. About, right? Mm-hmm. I want to put this next to the timestamps towards the end of the episode, because didn't we get something?
I think we did, but I don't remember exactly where that one was. The other one was way more like it just impact in terms of staying in my brain because of the editing choices there.
Yeah.
And this one I was probably crying or about to be crying, so I don't know when that other timestamp was.
Yeah, I was too, like, immersed in it, to be completely
Yeah.
honest.
I mean, this whole episode had me, like, really immersed once we had that daydream vision scene.
Yeah. I don't know. There's so much I don't know.
I think it's important, though, to keep that timestamp,
Mhm.
because that could be a moment where you need to impact. You need to impact that moment in order to change what has happened here in this episode. That is the moment you have to go back to. And that's why we got the timestamp there. That something can happen after having that. Like, oh, I gave you the vision, but you didn't do what you needed to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like the mark of time. That is the mark of time that the influence was attempted. And either it didn't work or it did.
Yeah. Two more things, at least for me. Bananas have no memories. That's sad. And then when Mayuri comes out into the roof to Kiyoma, she brings one of his experiments out, and it looks like a lightsaber. I feel like I need to talk about it, like, and how it relates to a personal instance of me,
Yes.
regardless of how embarrassing it is.
Please tell this.
So, for those of you who don't know, I've mentioned it a couple times, so I'm sure you do. I have never seen anything Star Wars. Nothing. None of the movies.
It's very
or
sad. It's a
TV
sad
shows.
fact, honestly. Shameful.
Yeah. But, I know a couple things. Like, I know what lightsabers are. I know who Darth Vader is, you know. And there, a couple months ago, I saw outside one of our neighbors walking his dog, and it was pitch black, and to light up the path, he had a lightsaber in his hand. And I was like, oh my god, that's so cool and awesome. That's so funny. So I, in my infinite wisdom, got my own lightsaber, and next time I looked outside and saw him walking his dog with it, I was taking my dog inside, and I grabbed my lightsaber and ran back out and lit mine up. His was green, mine was red. And he was like, what? No way. I ran over to him, he ran over to me, and we, like, touched the lightsaber tips, and it was like, whoosh. And then he was like, we have to hang out sometime and talk. And I was like, yeah. He doesn't know that I've never seen Star Wars.
So now he can never see this man again.
I'm in such a predicament, you know? Like, if
avoidance needs to happen.
How obvious of how much of a weirdo, like, it's gonna be when he realizes that some random dude who's never even seen Star Wars has a lightsaber and is trying to, you know, befriend. Like, I don't know.
This is the trouble that he gets himself into.
Yeah.
It's a definite hole that he's dug himself. He needs to watch all of Star Wars, everything. Not just the movies now, because there's, like, tons of other content now.
We have friends who, like, work on The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, and I have no fucking clue what any of it is. But that was a little bit of my embarrassing antics that I got myself into.
Yep.
But I just want to say real quick that this show is, like, really special to me at the moment. And that this episode sucked in a lot of ways because I don't like when bad things happen, but in a very similar sense, because of that, it's just so easily and so quickly cementing itself as something that feels really unique to me, and, like, I personally love it. Great series so far. I'm really excited to continue. I hope it never ends.
I am excited to continue, but now I also have this element of fear and sadness going into the next episode that I'm apprehensive. Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.